Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Well, welcome.
Like, what day is it? What day is it?
We should probably say welcome to the Antidote.
Welcome. Yes.
Welcome to the Antidote. So I'm Jennie Jordan, and I don't know which way you are. I think you're this way on me. I think. Yeah. So
no worries. Don't worry about it. Go on.
And then this is my bestie, Kristin. And so we just decided one day to start a YouTube channel because, first of all, we're hilarious and we have a lot of knowledge on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And we talk for hours about everything. And just the other day, she's like, we should probably YouTube this or record it because we talk about a lot of important things that people should probably know about. I'm like, yeah, probably.
Yeah. I definitely, like just for everyone who will eventually who's on it or watching this, like, I'm Kristin. Thank you for tuning in. And really it's about just noticing the climate right now and how everyone is just it's finding like a compass within as opposed to, and just kind of getting your feet more steady. As we've been trying to steady ourselves, we thought the wisest way to do this would be to share in our insights and our training and our learning and our strategies, but also admitting that I am 1,000% a work in progress and still learning. So kind of the gift was, okay, let's share the insights that we've come to so far, also our past experiences and just how to alleviate that stress in any way for someone who's like early on in their career or going through a transition or wanting to empower themselves in the ways and strategies that we can do that, and also admit that we're also deep in our own. So it's kind of, it's a bit of A and a bit of B, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just today we have a few things that we wanted to chat about. And, we're going to continue to do these things moving forward, and they're very low key. They're structured, but not super structured, because we want them to be lighthearted, and we want you to learn through edutainment. We want you to understand the topics the way that we understand them. Mm-hmm. So sit down, take notes, enjoy, chat if you can. If not, we will look through the chat later and get back to you. On YouTube at the top, you can see where our social media is, and that you can always contact us through our social media, and just kind of follow along. Our journey, like Kristin said, is that we are all a work in progress. We are all doing our best in life to make ourselves better, but make the world better, because you know what? We're here and we got to learn somehow. And if we're not learning from each other, we got to learn from ourselves. So
it's true.
What's on the table today, girl? What do you got for us?
Yeah, I wrote some notes. I also need to, like, I love how you're like, we're here. And I was like, we're queer. Was like, we're here.
I'm married.
Like,
I hate to say it.
Jennie is married, but
I'm married to a guy.
I'm not married to a man. I'm queer.
Which makes this dynamic amazing, because it's like we come from all aspects of life. So love it.
It's true. I think the biggest one, so what's relevant right now and happening, just taking a diagnosis and a pulse for anyone who's on LinkedIn right now, it's definitely been, it's the most helpful and stressful situation at the same time, being on LinkedIn, because the platform is being exponentially used. People are being laid off left, right, and center. It's encouraging and then discouraging. So to try and like level that out and really bring back the focus, it's more like asking a few questions today around like, and the first one that I had on my mind was like, being comfortable versus convenient. And so there's a lot of trend right now in like hacking your interview, hacking your resume, hacking. And I think when you come from that vantage point, it's like, okay, well, you're not meant to hack your skills. You're not meant to hack, like, if you go through life trying to hack things, like, you will live a very different life than it's convenient, right? It's not really investing. It's not really committed, quite frankly. So it's being mindful of that and versus comfortable. And Jennie, I'd love your thoughts on this, but like that word always has shifty meaning for me, like comfortable, because being such an A type and being such a like go-getter, I'm like, comfortable is like, that's like, it used to be attributed to me to settling. And now, you know, we're comfortable, like, how dare you like just be comfortable and not perpetually moving or pushing or hustling. But I realize now comfortable has a different definition for me in the sense of being more home in my body, more comfortable in who I am and how I express myself, and not doing it perfectly, but it's not about convenient where I'm like, I'm just going to put this together and like makeshift it and make it look good and pretty on a piece of paper and kind of hack it. Comfortable means like, okay, I'm comfortable with being myself, and then I'm going to try to do this as myself. So it's like a different intention, which I think is the next topic. But yeah, like I think, I don't know what you think about that and what you've seen thus far.
Well, I believe for me, there's two different types of being comfortable.
Yeah.
One, there's being comfortable in who you are. And that's something that I definitely had to learn, being 6'3", 225 pounds, like being comfortable in my human body, my space.
Yeah.
And just being comfortable in where I am in life, where I am, what I'm doing, being comfortable in my just human self. But once you get comfortable in like where, like what you're doing, you become like, I hate to use the word lazy. But I see that sometimes with my clients, like they become like stagnant. They become like this status quo. They just be like, well, I'm okay with this. Like I can manipulate this area, so I don't want to go past that. I'm comfortable here. And I'm always trying to push my clients past that area of comfortableness because it's like, there's more out there. Like you can do this. What is your potential? But they don't want to go past that because they can already manipulate the area that they're in. It's comfortable. So I always get a little irritated because I'm like, okay, we're great at manipulating this area.
Yeah. Like it's like your safety zone. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's like a safety zone of comfort. Like that's what it is. Like there's the safety zone of like, okay, I'm really good at this. Like I'm just going to keep doing this. But I think the question, but I would argue what's interesting about this when we talk about comfort is if you are really comfortable with yourself, like on the inside, you will take more chances because you're not, it's like, again, it's like a difference in like the sense of like, oh, I'm comfortable and I'm not going to like move from this zone versus I'm comfortable with who I am. I trust myself.
Two different levels.
I know myself. Comfortable is almost the wrong word. It's like knowing of self or appreciation of self or like this level of understanding or like, it's like, if you risk it, you're not going to lose out on yourself or something, you know, like it's an interesting, it's like
personal power. I call mine my personal power. Like this is my personal power. This is what I'm good at. This is what I can do. This is my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Once I go outside my wheelhouse, I'm like,
yeah. Like it also like, it's an interesting, because again, and I think that's the second part of it that I've recognized is it's like with intention, like it all like those actions, right? If you're trying to challenge to prove, that's not the right way to do it. If you're trying to because you have a really supportive network, because you know yourself, because you want it, because you care about it, because it's bigger than you, because it would be good for you to like try this new challenge. Like that's kind of the sweet, or as Matthew McConaughey calls it, the honey hole. Like that's the honey hole where it's like you're doing it from a place of like love of self versus like I have to do it, like I have to hack this or I have to challenge, you know. It's like even in challenge it seems like it's like, well, why do you want to do it? Like make sure you're doing it for the right reason and intention.
I think the intention of doing stuff that's best for yourself is super important because like when you start doing things to impress other people, that's not what's good for you. So that's going back to well, I want to be like the Joneses. I want to be like Mary. I want to have what Bob has. Well,
Yeah.
is that just to impress somebody, or is that what you want for your heart, your mind, body, and soul?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's two different people. You know, I always say to myself, like, it's easier to remember who I am versus who somebody's trying to be on the internet. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't remember who that person is and how they're trying to be, but I know who Jennie is.
Yeah.
Like, I know how to wake up and act like me, be like me, silly like me. Like, this is me. You know, that's my intention. Like, I know what my values are, my goals are, like my personal power. Like, I step into that every day.
Yeah.
But there's people who don't have that. They haven't found that home yet.
Yeah. 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 You just like absolutely read my mind. Yeah. Like, that's really funny that you said that, like, but people don't have that.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it goes back to the hacking. Well, people want, well, I want to hack that, you know, and it's so funny because, like, as we're talking about this, and I have the word hack on my Instagram, and I'm like, oh man, I should change that, because now it kind of bothers me because I say hacking everyday wellness. And I kind of do hack everyday wellness because I teach people like simple ways, but I kind of don't like the word hack. But when Kristin and I were talking about hacking, it's like people want to go from A to B and they want to hack to get there, but they want to skip the hard work to get there. Yeah. Okay, so if you skip the hard work and you get from A to B, you're not learning anything. You literally went from A to B and got there, but you have no skills to get to B. So when somebody says, how did you get there? And now you're like,
and you just like, oh my God, like, you just, what's fascinating, and I think what's interesting about all this is, it's fascinating and interesting, is that when you hack something, the goal is shit. Like, I mean it, like it's like the journey is shit, like the process is like, I'm just being honest about it. Like, you
internet hacker.
The level of satisfaction in a hack, right? Like, if you go like, okay, it's like going on a dating profile and going, I'm just gonna like spray and pray, right? You like all these people, no intention, no, you just go like, yep. You go on a bunch of dates, you go like, boom, here's my person, right? By the way, I need a wedding date in 45 days. Anybody's on this, operation wedding date. But I'm just saying, or option B, like, I can do it that way. I can go like, I'm just gonna like a bunch of people, find a body. She shows up at my cousin's wedding. Amazing. That's like, that's all hacking, right? It's like, okay, I'll just follow the steps, whatever. And then it's like, exactly to your, it's like, it all layers, because it's like, but what's the intention underneath it? Because when you're doing it because I want to find someone I really like and care about, and then we really gel together, and that we're like, it's beautiful and it's all romantic and so sweet. It's like, even the journey is enjoyable. And then the end goal is kind of the sweet ending. But at the same time, it's like, you're enjoying like even the progress to get there, instead of like the hack. Like, that's what I've recognized I've been caught up in. And that's how I think you can get comfortable, because once you start to know how to do things and it's like a certain way, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it just becomes unsatisfying, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like,
we all grew up with hacks. And I know here, now Kristin lives in Canada and I live in here in the States. Now, I'm assuming you had these things called Cliff Notes, and they were like hacks of reading the book. Now, I know the teachers would give us questions that weren't in the Cliff Notes, so they knew that we didn't read the book. So it's like, it's the same example of like, okay, I read the Cliff Notes because it's only like 50 pages versus a 300-page book. Like, you're not learning the whole experience if you just go from one hack to the next. Right. You're not getting anything out of life if you're just hacking life.
Yeah.
It's not the full experience. And I get it. Some people like the hack. I teach simple wellness hacks, which are great, but you're not learning the overall wellness if you just want hacks.
Yeah. It's like
now like talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I need to change that on my Instagram profile because people just want the quick and dirty. And that's what they get on Instagram is a quick and dirty. But if they want more, they have to work with me. It's interesting how that works.
Yes. It's like, I think that's what it's boiled down to. And even in myself, I can say it. It's like, you get this amazing quote from TikTok or Instagram, and like, it's like, or investing in yourself. And it's so different. It's like you said, you don't get the full experience. But I think that also too, like, it's also the way that Tony Robbins, of course, Jennie and I are very much like, we've trained in that world. And he has this whole question around like, what do you think life is? Like, how do you define life? And someone who I do believe like hacks at everything, their belief is that I somehow have to trick life, or I somehow have to manipulate life, or I somehow have to, it's not even about hacking. It's like, how can I shortcut this? How can I affect? It's like you're speeding through life, but you're not really experiencing it. Like you're just trying to outrun it or outdo it, and that definition, again, your intention will be always about tricking, manipulating. And it's not like a bad thing. It's not like you're going around manipulating and lying to people, but it's like you're always trying to one up life. And it's like, that's a tricky way. You won't receive. It's trickier to receive that way because you're always like, I have to like figure out or finagle or, like instead of going like, life is a gift. This is a beautiful journey. I will meet someone beautiful. Like, what a different way. Like, it's slower. I've recognized that in myself, that it seems like a slower pace because I'm not used to just going, well, that would be a beautiful moment. And it's not necessarily the end goal, but it's like, okay, but that's a beautiful moment. Oh, but that's another beautiful moment. And that's another moment. And it's like, I'm not even at my destination, but it's like, I'm like letting it unfold and I'm still acting. It's just such a different way of defining life and how we carry on and what we do in every day.
People don't live in the present.
Yeah.
They are so focused about being in the future and what our visions are and making sure that we set everything up to get to our vision and our goals and our destiny. I love it. I mean, I sit here and here's a person who has multiple planners and everything. Like I plan my shit like you would not believe. So I stay on track. That's me. I'm the planner queen.
Right.
But the problem is that we plan so much and make sure that we check all these boxes off and we stay focused, but you have to live in the moment. If you don't live in the moment and you don't stop and smell the flowers, you are missing out on everything.
Yeah.
Literally are like missing the sunny, beautiful rays coming in through your window, or smelling the flowers, or watching your dog roll over and fart. And like all the little things that make you giggle in a day, you're missing those moments because you are so focused on, did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? Check this off. Do this, do this, do this. And that was me. That was old Jen. And my old self was Jen. And old Jen would be like, okay, cool. Vacuumed, cooked dinner, did this, exercise. And I would just check the things off with gusto, because that was like, okay, cool. I got everything done. Now what? But I didn't do it with like love and intention. And wasn't present in the moment when I did these things because I just did them to do them. And I think a lot of people, going back to, are you living with intention? Are you living in the moment? Because we don't. Because half the time, like, we're busy moms, we're busy spouses, we're working boss bitches, doing all these things for other people that we forget to be ourselves. And it's hard. It's hard because you have to balance it all.
It's tricky because there's a perpetual reminder right now on, it's like even scale. You've got for each like platform, it's like, and I just experienced it myself on my own, where it's like, okay, on LinkedIn, you've got the professional like performance arena, right? And you're just like, okay, like we're like not even to go down the comparison game, but that can happen. And then on TikTok, it's like the platform version of how everyone is living their best life, or Instagram as well, from like I mean, Instagram is like both like they're kind of dual in the sense of they have the professional side, business side, and then they've also got like, look at my amazing boyfriend, girlfriend life. Like it's and then like TikTok is like, I have the best life and I make cat videos, or like, like it's a very interesting, like, I'm in Switzerland doing my ice bath. I'm like, I don't live in Switzerland and I don't have an ice bath, and that looks really healthy and beautiful. And maybe I should move to Switzerland because they seem happy. But like, so it's like, there always seems to be, what I've noticed in myself is that it's like this learn to shut off the platform of like, okay, you need to stop comparing whatever the KPIs of like a fun life look like, because TikTok is that road you can go down, and then LinkedIn is like it's a very like what, that's where the simplicity and the clarity for me is starting to resonate, where kind of like you, I'm bouncing back from a like very busy schedule. I was like overextended, and then like I was just like, oh my God, and then I said no to everything. Now I'm so quiet and I'm like, I feel so lost, but it's because I'm trying to find the balance between the two, between making the lists, creating the goals and the results. But I think the biggest one that I've needed to add is like, well, why do you want this goal? Like, why do you want it? And like, how can I enjoy the journey? Like, that's the other question from this conversation. It's like, okay, you want that goal, but like, what's the most fun way that you can do this and enjoy it and not feel like it's murder,
Oh,
So.
100%. Like first of all, I love that story. Because all of it is so true. If we honestly are 50% of what people are on the internet, that'd be awesome. Because half the shit that people put on the internet is exactly what that is shit. Like the stuff that I put on the internet is me, and it's always going to be me. It's like, here's a picture of my dog. Here's my clean athlete stuff. Here's this. Here's like, this is, I put me, and I'm very proud of that. And that's what I put on social media, because I work really hard at putting the good, the bad, the ugly. Like everybody has lived through 18 months of my mom's death. Like, because that was a part of my life. Like I didn't hide anything. Like I put like the weird car show things, like my flamingo, like, but I work hard at doing that to make sure that I put all these things of my life on here. Because comparisonitis should really be a DSM-5 like mental health code.
And no, it really should. I actually wholeheartedly, that's like the greatest statement ever. It's so true.
Yes.
It's
because
so
it needs to be true. Because people are like, oh my God, this person has this beautiful home. It is all white and black and beautiful. And I look at these homes and I'm like, I want them to make bacon in that grill. Like, I want you to make bacon. At least have my husband come over and make bacon there, because all the grease will go everywhere in the matter of 4 seconds and not look as pristine as it is right now, because no one cooks in that home.
It's also like you see the bloopers after the fact of like, one of my favorite, it was like, it kind of like eye-opener, kudos to Jessica Alba, she's one of my faves. As a businesswoman, by the way, because she's a phenomenal.
She's fantastic.
People just have completely been awful to her throughout her career as a businesswoman, and she's like a phenomenal one too, and a highly lucrative one. And she was doing a take of with her Honest Baby Food Co. and her son was there, and they were filming a scene with like the smoothie, and it looked beautiful. Like it still looked like very like sweet and wholesome, like it wasn't contrived. And then they went to a blooper that he had poured all of the matcha powder into the entire, smoothie. So you realize like she died, of course, and laughing, but she was like, oh, we're not going to take this cut. But it just goes to show you that like, even what looks like not contrived is still contrived. And it's, of course, I would have done the same thing being in their position, but it's like the hilarity of that. There was this like full scene of it, like they had to go like, and we need a new blender and a new Ninja, you know what I mean? They just like move it over and you're like, that's the filming life. And that's, so it is, even though it looks authentic, and I still think she's incredibly authentic, but nobody, you're not going to get to where you need to go if you're like a full matcha smoothie in there. Like that's why I love that they showed it, because it was like the comedy of like, don't do that for your matcha.
It's like you almost want to see like the before and afters, like what she actually really does look like with people, like, because the comparisonitis is a so legit real.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know when I first started like going on social media and like doing this whole coaching thing, and I was like, oh my God, like, look at them. They look so legit and real. And she's standing next to this expensive car and has like a Gucci handbag. And I'm like, oh, I want to work with them. And upon like further investigation, because that's just the person that I am, like, it was bought.
Yeah.
Like, they bought the whole scene to make it was like a photo shoot. And I'm like, really, like, you, that none of that stuff was yours. Like, you bought all the clothing and the handbag and the car. And I'm like, really, just to get like coaching clients? And I was like heartbroken, because like I was like a gullible like newbie into the coaching world. And I was like, I was legit believing that this woman had all these things from coaching. And I was like, oh. And then ever since then, I was like, I am never doing that to my community. Like, never. Like, I want to show you the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I will show you like the gray hairs. I will show you like the fat rolls. Like, I will literally show you every part of my life within reason. Like, that's me. Because that's where you get that connection with people. That's where you get that, this is who I am. Like, I'm no different than you, the neighbor across the street, or anybody else. Like, we are still on our own path. We're still learning and growing. Like, we are not changing any faster than anybody else, but we're all on a different path.
Exactly. It's so exactly that. It's like, it's distinguishing too between, and it goes back again to like the support and the help and the knowing yourself, and that, you know, it's like, it's exactly that. It doesn't have to look a certain way in order to, that's something I'm learning now. It's that, because if you want to change the outcome and the result in a different, it's like just trying to think of so I was comparing myself. I was like laughing at myself actually at the recognition when how comparison plays tricks on you. I've been comparing myself to like really powerful women in the creative space who are like an agency and they're really successful and they look certain kind of with the coach back. And I think they've worked their asses off for it. Like, I know they have like sweat, blood, and tears, right? And so here I am like super, you know, like I'm not there, blah, blah. And then I'm going to myself, I'm like running in my childhood like streets, and I'm going, dude, she's like, I'm 37. This woman is like maybe 50. I'm like, she could have babysat you. Like, there's actually no way that like, yes, you want to like, it's like, I almost like was I'm like, you couldn't even have possibly made the accomplishments she had, because you were two different people. And is that the life you want? And quite frankly, in a lot of ways, no, but like, I want to be that powerful, and I know I want to feel a certain way. But what I recognized, I was like, dude, they could have been your fucking babysitter. Like, you know, like I literally had to go like, there's no possible way, like, stop competing. And like, this is such a waste of your energy and time, because it's just like, as Oprah says, like, your only job, like, we spend the majority of our time trying to be like somebody else, but she's like, the whole point is to be yourself. That's what people miss with goals, is that if you're so busy trying to be somebody else, like, it's silly. So here I am going like, why am I even like, I'm not a 50-year-old. I had to like say it. And I was like, okay, like, you have to come from a different place. yes, I wouldn't mind that Chanel bag but I wouldn't use that as a means of coaching, but I'm saying it's more for my own feeling of power and desire, and that I did it because I wanted to. And then, like, I think that's the distinction versus like trying to be someone who literally has 13 years on you. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, that's the hack.
Yeah.
Have this. People want to have the Porsches and the Chanel bags and all these other things because it thinks it means I'm successful. Yeah. I think the people who are successful are the ones that look like bums. Like, they don't show it. They don't flash it. They literally get up, they work their asses off. They have what they have. They go on vacations, but they live this amazing lifestyle like an everyday human that you would never know. Those are the people that I admire the most.
It's like a quiet
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, KR. Yeah.
Like he's like the jam when it comes to that. Like, takes the subway and gives his seat up, and like, you would never, half the time he looks like a bum. You would never know. Like, it's just, those are the people that I admire. Like, you just living your best life, doing your thing, but you're like a multi-bazillionaire. Like, love it. Like, you don't have to have it.
It's a quiet confidence. I think there's people who, you could have two different people. Like, I live in Toronto, everybody, and Yorkville is a very like wealthy spot in Toronto. It's beautiful, it's stunning. And I've been walking around just observing, like feeling abundant and like what, I'm just like, okay, like this level. And it's been really fascinating because I was I dressed up and was feeling good, and I walked down, and what was interesting is that it's not even about like, you could have two different people that could have a Chanel bag and a car, and like, and how they present. And so here I am, like all dressed up, feeling great. And I was in this cafe, and it was more high end, of course, cafe, because they're all like, everything's high end in Yorkville. And it was so funny because there were these group of teenagers that you could just tell that they came for money. Like, you just knew that they came for money, but it was how they presented and how they even looked at the barista, or how they like, there was an expectancy of like the way they talked to her and her tone. And I was like, that's unnecessary. Like, I don't, like, I kind of laughed about it because I'm like, I realized like in my career, I've been very lucky and privileged to be in a lot of rooms that, being a queer woman too, by the way, in tech, FYI, for all those folks out there. But I've had the champagne every Friday. I've had those gorgeous, hotel meetings, what have you. But I think the distinction was when I went in and I was all like, glammed, and I like just ordered an Americano, and that barista, the way that she responded to me, because I was like, hey, like, you dropped something. Hey, she like lost her mind. Okay. It was like, I had treated her like $1 million. And I realized in that moment, like, it's when it comes to abundance and money and like having the Audi with like God is a DJ on your license plate, which like kudos to that person. It's about knowing yourself and your comfort. And the fact that girl, I was like, hey, like, have a good day. I was like, this is not cool. Like, I just like realized it's like, it's the kind word. Like, she felt like $1 million. I felt like $1 million. And I was like, I probably don't even have the bankroll that these teenagers do. But it felt so, and I think that's the distinction that we miss. It's like how you carry yourself. If you have $2, if you have $5, it's how you carry, like, it was so interesting to see that.
It's the aspect of, and we have all heard this statement before, and how, and this is the way I grew up, that my parents taught me, that you teach everybody the same, you treat them the same, like the CEO to the janitor.
Yeah.
It's always have manners, this, that, and the other thing. And I was telling Kristin this weekend that I worked a charity event, and just hardworking blue class individuals, and they were absolutely the most fun and giving and loving individuals. And then we went to another event, which was high class, super bouge, and very not appreciative. And it was just so interesting that both dynamics, and it was like expected to happen versus loving, giving, supporting.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just like, when you're doing two different things and you're just like, wow, this is so fascinating. It's just like two different worlds and the way these individuals were brought up.
Yeah.
And me in the middle, because I can run in both crowds and be completely happy. It's how you're comfortable in yourself to be in those crowds.
Oh, for sure. It's how you carry yourself.
Absolutely. And I've been super blessed to be in most high class events, the whole gown, the nine, and sit at the table with some most powerful people, to hanging out with some individuals. I was like, I don't know how I got here, but I loved being at a table with some individual that really taught me some things about life.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable with you. You have to be comfortable with you, the way you act and how you respond to a situation. And I don't care who the person is. It's always, yes, thank you. Absolutely. Do you need help? How can I serve you? And that's what we learned in our worlds that we work in. It's how we can serve people and how we can take them to the next level and how we can help them be a better person.
Yeah. But I think we've cultivated and made that choice though over and over again. I think it's a choice we've made. It's not one that it's not the easy decision at times. Go on. Sorry.
No, it's definitely not an easy decision, because sometimes it's like, you just want to I want to get the hell out of here. This is uncomfortable. This makes me uncomfortable. But on the other hand, it's not always about us. It's always about how we can make other people around us be better.
Yes.
And that's something that I've learned over the last 5-10 years, is how we can make the world better, how we can make our community better, how we can make ourselves better by being that beacon of hope, and it's hard. It's hard. Sometimes it's very mentally draining, and sometimes that we need help, love, and support. There's times where, I call Kristin and I was like, girl, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I'm having a moment.
Yeah.
And we got to have our own support group. I'm an advocate for having a therapist. As a therapist, get a therapist.
Yeah.
Get a group or somebody that you can talk to. I'm not saying your bestie is a good friend to talk to, but if you commiserate, that's not getting you anywhere.
Agreed.
You need to have somebody that's kind of not, how do I want to say this? They're not going to commiserate with you, but they're going to give you quality feedback. You almost need that neutral party sometimes to help you through some sketchy situations. And like when my mom passed, I couldn't talk to my husband, I couldn't talk to my dad, I couldn't talk to my friends, because they were all emotionally invested into the process. That it's like you needed somebody to talk to that was an outside party. And sometimes you need that to help you find your way back home. You need that to kind of settle all the dust for you to find a better self, for you to find, get that vision back.
Yeah, as a coach, as well, I love, I always still chuckle that I can, but it's so funny that it's so true. It's it's because it's objective, and because the greatest coach and therapist won't agree with you. I mean that. I think that's the part too, is you don't want someone who agrees with you, and it's not about being right. It's about someone who's going to support you through your change. And that's the brave part of what I've recognized now. And, because I've had my own 6 months under being laid off and finding my next opportunity, it's made me realize that it's actually, when you're comfortable with yourself, your likelihood of standing out is much greater, because you're not in agreement with maybe at times what's going on in your company or at home. And that can be lonely. And that's where it can be a challenge, because that's the other reason why a coach or a therapist or even a support group or something of that nature, because they are as you're going through the change, they're going to be the ones that kind of, you won't feel like a crazy person, or like a person who's like, okay, how do I kind of, like they're going to kind of push you in this new realm and new role, because you are going to get pushback from your old party. It's just a fact of life, your family, your friends, like, because they know you as a certain way of being. So when you're trying to change, it makes sense to have a different support system and an objective, because again, they're not trying to agree, like run. If they agree with you on everything, run in the other direction. That is not what you need. That's, as you said, that's commiserating. Those are your friends. They will come and they'll be like, oh my God, you're so right, whatever. Like, you don't need that. That's not going to help you to change. Like, it's being mindful of, yeah, it's so fascinating as you're saying this, that even for me, it's like, I'm more proud now. I was like living in some regret the past 6 months of like, oh, I didn't get support here or there. I was playing a lot of like victim and sorry for myself. And I realized like, but the fact that you did that, the fact that you said that, the fact that you tried something different and new, it's like, that means that you're not sticking with the status quo. So thank God. So for all those who are like, oh, that didn't work, thank God you didn't stick to the status quo. You didn't stay stuck. You didn't, you know what I mean? Like, that's so much worse to just kind of go, well, this is the way it is. Like, great, terrible, that's my personal nightmare for everyone, I would say, to say, well, that's just the way it is. Like, that's
least being comfortable.
Yeah.
Because we can manipulate that space.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it's true. Yeah. We've all been there. Like, I can manipulate this certain space and I know how to make it work for me.
Yes.
Once I'm out of that space, all hell breaks loose and I don't know what to do. I don't like to be here. It makes me uncomfortable. I want to go back to this.
Right.
And that's why people don't want to change. That's why people don't leave shitty jobs. That's why people don't leave abusive relationships. And I hate to say that because they know what to do. They know how to handle it. And I know that's sensitive, but it's very true. It just, change is hard. We've all been in very hard situations. It's when something needs to happen in order for you to take the step for change. For me, my mom had to die. And it sounds bad. Like, I literally I said it once in 43 minutes. I'm so proud of myself. But I turned into a different person when my mom passed.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that. I felt like, I had a great connection with my mom, but my mom was very like emotionally, like dabbling into everything that I was doing. And when my mom wasn't here, she didn't dabble and into everything. I felt more free.
Yeah.
And I felt more me. And it was conversations with my therapist and my coaches and all these people that I have to work with me. Yeah. And when you finally can be like, you mean I can do that now? I can do that? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, she can't yell at me. She's not here.
Yeah.
I'm 45 years old. So it's so fascinating for like something to happen for you to literally change.
Yes.
For a relationship to fall apart, for a layoff to happen, a car accident or a medical thing. Like, for me to have my thyroid was so out of whack. I gained like 60 pounds and I'm like, fuck, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
For me to like change my body, change my world for me to happen. And that's why I'm telling people, I'm like, we need to be more in tune with our body, our mind, body, and soul for those things not to happen for us to change.
Yeah. Well, it's like the transference between being reactive to life, kind of being the passenger seat, to being the driver, right? And that's been my I didn't realize it at the time, but I would say doing a full year now of like so much self-development. Like I've done the Tony Robbins World, I've, taken early adopter of Matt McConaughey, by the way, just brilliant stuff, coaching, just recognizing how much I had lived on autopilot and had really, I think it was more also too for me, because it's literally coming up to a year that I entered the Tony Robbins world and took so much coaching. It's been beautiful, but it's this recognition that I really thought that this was just how it was. Like this was just how it was. And when you kind of live from that mindset, again, it's very black and white. And it's very like, that's also the life hacky, right? Where you're like, well, these are the rules. These are the formulas. This is what's to be expected. That's not really living from a heart space. That's not living from it's a very logical space. And I'm not saying logic isn't required in life, but I'm saying that it's a very surface level experience of life. And so for me, it's been really deep diving. It's totally like the iceberg. It's like I felt like I was like living the tip and like not, and then this year like diving deep, and a lot of happy and also a lot of ugly crying tears in that whole journey. But it's you feel things deeper. That's the quote unquote risk that you're taking, right? Like you understand your emotions more. It's funny, I think I went from, my journey has been from being a very like, kind of like you were saying, the checklist kind of, goals. Like even my goals didn't pack a punch in meaning. Like they didn't move my heart, spirit, soul. Like that's the part that I didn't realize was missing for a lot of what I wanted to do, is the heart space. It's so funny, but the logic was all there and the formula was all there, but you don't, as Tony would say, I mean, I just told this from like Tony / like all of like Alison Bird, but it's kind of like when you make shitty goals for yourself, like kind of life hacky, you really do have a surface shitty experience. Whereas if you actually deeply care about a goal, it means that there's more skin in the game, and it means that you're going to feel more, but like your level of happiness, you know what I mean? It's like, how deep do you want to go? It means the more centered and more beautiful your life will be. But if you just do this like shitty, like I'm just going to do like that's what you're going to get. Like and that's what people don't, and they're like, oh, why am I got this job, why am I upset? It's like, because you just did this, like you just,
and it goes back to like, we were all given cards when we were born. Yeah. These are the cards we're dealt with. And many of you know, who follow me, that I was born half blind. So I only see out of one eye, like my ninja eye, my pretty eye. Like if I live my life as a half blind person, I lived my life as the doctors told my parents I would lead. I don't know. I can't even fathom what my life would be like, because they said she would never play sports. She would never be in the normal school. She would never drive a car. It was a bunch of never, never, nevers. And I'm very stubborn German and Polish. Like, you don't tell me that I can't do something, because I will make you a scrapbook and send it off to you how I did it in 17 different ways, because I'm very stubborn and I will figure out a way to do it. Because at 7, like I wanted to play sports. Like 6, 7, I wanted to play softball. And they're like, well, you can't play softball because you have no eye-hand coordination. So I learned how to bat left-handed, because that's a better way for me to see the ball come in, even though I'm right-handed. So I actually learned how to use both sides of my body because of my vision. So it's like, instead of being like a disability, I learned it as a ability, because I was able to use both sides of my body to be more of a powerhouse than a disability. And it was so funny, because I took all these abilities and turned it into a career. That I am a sponsored athlete. I am actually a cyclist now. I played volleyball in college, did the whole All-American national championship, did the whole thing. And it was so funny because like at the end of my career of playing volleyball, like I said to my friends, hey, do you know that I'm blind? And they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am. According to the American Blind Association, that I am technically blind and like shouldn't be playing sports because I don't have the capacity, according to them, to play sports. And they were completely shocked. And like I should be not doing what I do. And I never use that as a crutch in life. Every once in a while, like I'll be like, oh, like I have a learning disability and this is, I call it PMS, poor me syndrome. Like I fall into that trap sometime. And then I was like, bitch, stop it. And I pick myself up, fix my crown. And I'm like, no way. Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I gotta stop. Because nevertheless, like I gotta stop and make myself proud, but also make my community proud. Because I have people who look at me and be like, damn, look at that bitch go. Exactly. 45 years old, sponsored athlete, she coaches, she does all these amazing things. Like, so can I.
Yeah.
So can I. Like literally I, how funny. Like, I can do this too. And that's why, like, when I wake up every day and I'm like, I put my shoes on, put on a happy face, come on the internet, do what I do best, because there's one girl out there who's 7 years old whose doctor told them that they can't fucking do this. I want to punch that doctor in the face, but I want to tell that 7-year-old girl that she can do it because I can do it. That's why I wake up every day.
Yeah.
Because that one person that could have ruined my life forever.
Yeah.
But I'm too damn stubborn.
Yeah.
Too damn stubborn.
Amen.
And that's and that's why I'm like, don't compare yourself to somebody else's journey. Because no one else can wear my size 11 shoes and understand the path that I've been through. Yeah.
It's, I mean, first of all, honoring all of that was beautiful. Like I just, it was so beautiful. I think the crux of it is too, it's like when you're really trying to follow someone else's footsteps instead of your own, like you miss out on you miss your own win. Like you were saying, like, I want to be proud of myself. And I think that's what myself now in all this journey of like trying to be everything for everyone, the last 6 months of like testing out and exploring all these different career options, it's been like, wait, like you need to be proud of yourself. Like you need to be, like you said, it's like, you really do enjoy your journey. Like, instead of kind of like looking over, it's like, why don't, like, there's this beautiful road ahead for you that you get to create and like drive and pave the way, what have you. And similar to you, exactly. Like, being a queer woman in tech has been, and also like, it's been like so interesting, kind of like you with the intersectional, it's like woman in sports and it's really like, it's like, it like layers, right? And same with me, like woman in tech, that alone is an interesting thing to navigate. And then being openly gay. So very early on in my career, I literally came out of my first job. Like it was pretty, like I've been out for my entire career in tech. And I have not realized how brave that was to do over and over and over again. And it's because I've created a conference, like same, like so many opportunities. And like, I just being in this world and helping the entrepreneurs that I have, specifically LGBTQ professionals as well. But I kind of missed, it was a full circle moment for me. That run was very helpful. Just like a run in my childhood. I just need to run, everybody. Just run. It solves everything. But it made me realize, like, I promised myself as a 25-year-old that I would, that's when I came out, that I would really like create that opportunity and safe space for others, because I knew that I was so many times the only woman and the only gay woman in the room, like over and over and over again. And I thought, this has to change, because I can't be the only one. Like, why am I the only one privy to this business information, these opportunities? It's ridiculous. And so over the years doing this, it's made me realize, like, and seeing these really successful people that also paved the way and like were married. But I think the biggest recognition is that, Kristin, you did meet your goal. Like you did. And I think that's the part that I get to center on again. It's like, same with you. It's like, you are that person. Like you kept that promise to yourself. And so even if you're in a transition or you're growing your business or you're trying to find a new job and you're like, what's my purpose? What's my, and then you're like overwhelmed as F with like everything from maybe a baby to a dog to your resume to, your purpose in life and listening to Oprah and, just trying to figure it out. And then LinkedIn is swarming with layoffs or people saying they've applied to 200 jobs and not gotten one yet, or their business is or their business is doing amazing and you feel like you are shitty. For all those people with all of that, because I know that I ran that list, but it's accurate. It's like, you have to remember, like Jennie said, it's like, wait, like I've done so much. I've lived so much. I've kept my promise to myself. Like how many things have I done that before I was like, there was no effing way I could do that. And like, I was like, what gall my 25-year-old self was like, I'm gonna effing, like I just like laugh about it. I'm like, same with you. It's like people have been like, what kind of gall? It's like, what kind of balls does it take to do the being the only? So it's like, still got it. You still got it. It's just apply it to a new thing. And even if you don't know what it is yet, or just it didn't leave you. It's still there,
Honestly, like sometimes I sit up in my office and I look out, I have this 16-foot window here, and I like just look out these beautiful like sunsets. And I'm like, do you know how lucky you are? First of all, to be born, because my mom had like 5 miscarriages between my brother and I. We're like 10 years apart. I said, first of all, how lucky you are to be born. Nevertheless, to have a visual impairment, I consider my visual impairment like part of me to make my journey fucking amazing. Like it is part of me. And like, because people will ask me, well, do you ever think about what it would be like to have like both eyes? Sure, maybe when I was like 10, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to have like vision over here. Like, what is it like? But I'm like, but no, because like my journey was created for me. Like,
exactly.
I believe in a higher power, and Sky Daddy created me, and I broke the mold. I like broke the mold when he made me, because he's like, you are going to change the world in some kind of way. And that's what I truly believe. I'm always checking in with myself. And when like, I believe in the universal powers and the laws and all these other things, because I spent a lot of time alone in my world because people didn't get me. People didn't understand what was wrong with me. But now I sit here at 45 and I check in with myself. I sit here and I meditate and I ask my 7-year-old self and my 77-year-old self, and we have these discussions on how I'm doing, what's going on. I know it sounds weird, but on the other hand, I'm like, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Like I'm changing the world. I'm still on the path to goodness. Like I'm still upright. I'm taking care of my dad. Like I'm in a fantastic marriage with this amazing man who adores me every day. Like I have a puppy who's awesome. Like I get to travel the world. Like I'm blessed. Other than not being able to have children, like that fucking sucks. And I really wish I could have babies. But you know what? I love your babies, but they're great because I get to give them back. Like I'm blessed. I am super blessed. Like I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. Because somebody asked me the other day, I would give you $1 million to go back and change one thing. What would it be? And I said, not a damn thing. Not a damn, like maybe my body dysmorphic issues, like that's kind of annoying. I don't like having that all the time. But like, I wouldn't change my visual impairment. Like, you know how many cool people that I met at like the amazing hospitals in Philly? Like I have to go down and have my cataract fixed, and I have to have a specialized lens and do all this great. I'm 45 years old. I'm too old, like too young for this. This is an old person thing. But like I get to meet like a really rad doctor and person making a specialized lens. Like this is cool. Scary AF, but this is cool. But this is what my whole world was like.
Yeah.
I've been beyond my years of comprehension. Being 7 to 10 years old, I was always really tall, so I always played up in sports. I was traveling the world at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old on different teams, and it was fun, and being you, being in tune with you is my best advice that I can give anybody.
Yeah.
Don't be somebody else. The hardest person to be is you, and understand like who you are. Live in the moment. When's the last time you actually sat down at a dinner table and had a conversation with your spouse? We do that every night. Yeah. That is a non-negotiable with George and I in our household, other than when he's traveling. But it's like, it's awesome to have a conversation with somebody without phones or the TV on. Like, who does that anymore? No one. But it's communication.
I mean, I think that the takeaway is too, it's like, instead of trying to rush through life, or like, it's not about like, it's actually, if you just take a moment and a beat to sit with yourself, and like, that's, I think, more what I'm getting from a pulse of myself, but also what I'm seeing from, it's just like, instead of constantly trying to create or somehow productivity hack a moment, or like somehow make it more effective, or somehow meet some sort of KPI in your head, whether that be like personal or professional. It's like the challenge for myself, I would say, and for what I'm seeing from the outside world is this learning to be like, just be in the moment, and not it's just being present with yourself. And if you can get that, it's like, whatever world you're in, whether you're in the Porsche world, the other world, whether you're in the fancy cafe, and you're like, it's like, you get to, it's like, that's what I was reminded of. It's like, you always get to be the temperature gauge. Like, you get to decide what temperature you are. Like, the temperature could be 90 degrees hot, whatever, but like, you decide how you're going to show up everywhere you go. And it's like, I can't believe I'm quoting her, Becker, but it's like, how you do the little things is how you do the big things. And it's like, I've started to realize, it's like, the goal is like 2% of who you are. And it's more about how you got to the goal, and who you are, and what you like, how you did it is irrelevant. It's who you were as you did it. Were you kind? Were you supportive? Were you loving to yourself and to others? Were you generous? Were you a dick? Were you, hacking things? Were you trying to clobber over other people? Were you like, if you just remember that, like, who am I in this situation? How am I going to be going forward? Your life will serve you so much better, because that's just it. It's like, that's what I've come to realize. It's like, whatever role I get next, I will choose to be kind over, yes, productive matters. Yes, of course, money matters. Yes, but what matters is my team and their well-being, and my boss, and if they're okay, or that I'm okay, and that I love the work, and that I'm fulfilled, and that also I'm being intentional and loving and kind, more so than like, is this a good title? Is this a good, like, that's what I was on. Like, that's the register I was doing the dance in. And I realized, I'm like, that's why it's like, I met myself, particularly this weekend, realizing that it's like, it's not about the title, it's who you're going to show up as every day. That's going to matter, whatever the setting is, whether it's fancy, not fancy, like, that's all I can control, truly, too, by the way. Like, oh, noted. That's all I control. Am I going to be kind, loving, generous? Am I going to be fully in this moment? So it kind of takes off all the pressure too, of like, I have to get this goal perfect. It's like, well, are you being you in this moment? Like, are you giving your full all and being the kindest, most loving human being you possibly be in this moment? Success, right? Like,
and I think I can't speak for you, but I think with a couple stories that I heard from you, that when we did scratch and claw and do what we need to do to get to the top, it was lonely AF out there.
Yes.
When I was at the top of a business and I'm like, cool, I'm up here making the cash, having fun. And then I'm like working 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
Solving everybody else's problem. Like it was a new level, new devil of problems that I did not want to have. Nevertheless, I had the old problems from before plus new shit that I didn't want to deal with.
And they weren't even like thoughtful problems. They were like shitty problems. Like they were hacky problems, right? Like that's the part that it's like, oh, these aren't even problems that I genuinely care about, right? And for those, it's like distinguishing between like someone nitpicking because they like didn't get, you know, like whatever, didn't get a salary or something. That's like a hacky problem versus like, oh, well, how are we serving this customer and are we changing lives? And are like, that's a different problem that you want to so,
but I was just like, oh my God. Like at one point, George was like, our marriage is not going to work unless you do something. And it was probably the worst part of my relationship when he was just like, you work too much, you're stressed out, you're not even the same person anymore. And I had to look inside me and be like, this is shitty. No money in the world is worth my relationship, at least mine. Like I love and adore Georgie 100%. And I like, well, he's my ride or die. And I was miserable. Like when I finally got to the top, I was like, this sucks. This sucks. I don't like it. And I was like, peace out, Girl Scout, left. Like it wasn't for me.
I think that's like a beautiful way of like, just as we like hit the hour, but I think you just really tapped into something that's kind of like the next steps for anyone who's like, well, how the fuck do I be myself? Like, thanks for, you know, it's like, we gave you a lot of nuggets, but I think what it's propelled in me as well, it's like the quality of your life. Like Tony Robbins talks a lot about the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships, but it's also like, Jamie Kern Lima will say like, you know, and Oprah says it's like, God used me or whatever you believe in, universe, like, how can I serve? And the quality of your life is also the quality of your problems. Like if, you know, if you're going in a job or a business and, you know, and it's like, how do I serve these women? So that's what you also highlighted just now too. It's an interesting, like you kind of got me there in your story because it made me realize like, if your problems are too small and petty and it's not going to make you, it won't grow you. You know what I mean? It won't like, if you're like, oh, these are petty or stupid, it won't fulfill you. It won't feel like you're making an impact. It won't feel like you're moving your life forward or that your life has meaning. So ironically, challenges, make them good, you know, make them good ones. Like Jennie, like fucking disability, right? Like, it's like, I made mine good. Like, I was like, I'm going to make sure that gay women and gay people, like those were good fucking problems to be like, I want to make sure that more entrepreneurs are in tech and that they're out and visible, trans, non-binary. Like that was it's been an amazing problem because for me, it's been so rewarding to see. There's nothing like, I know Jennie and like our work together, but also seeing what she's done. And it's like, there's nothing like seeing someone's face recognize their own potential. It's the greatest feeling. Like, you're just like, this is amazing. Like you just go like, their world is like on fire and you're like, yeah, like you can do this, you know, there's nothing like that. So it's kind of like, choose your challenges better, you know, like that's my final advice for anyone who's like, how do I be more of me? What do you care about? That's you skin in the game. Like that's you skin in the game, right? And that's when you will shine because it's going to be bigger than you and it's not going to be about you anymore. Yeah. That's my final advice, friends. Yeah. So.
And once again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, as Kristin talked about, because there is so much more that we are going to uncover in this podcast. The antidote is truly what we're talking about in life, because when you start communicating and just talking through the problems, you're going to find the antidote for what you need to know. So stay tuned. stay focused. We're going to make this kind of a regular thing. We're going to find out what schedule works for us to keep these on our YouTube channel, and then we'll post it on our socials as well. Stay in contact with us. Once again, you can find this on our YouTube channel. Just click the buttons. It'll take you right into our social media pages. And we're super stoked that you're here. Thanks for everybody who's been watching. I've been seeing like it goes up to like 5 and then all these other numbers. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's super rad. And always support your girls on that. And we love you guys. So we'll see you all soon.